My grandfather forgot my name at 81 years of age, and although we all told ourselves it was a natural part of aging, something inside me didn't fully accept it. I remember that day clearly. He looked at me with tenderness. He smiled at me, but he couldn't say who I was, and that hurt more than any illness. Years later, after reading, researching, and asking specialists, I discovered something I can't keep to myself. It is not always inevitable. Sometimes deterioration can be slowed. Sometimes we just need to know what to do and when to do it. And here comes the question that changes everything. What if there were a food, a simple and natural one, that if you take it before sleeping, could help protect your memory? Science has begun to say yes. Different neurological studies are revealing clear connections between what we eat at night and the way our brain cleans itself, repairs itself, and resists the passage of time while we sleep. Today, I am not going to talk to you about impossible theories or magic recipes. I'm going to talk to you about a specific, natural, accessible food that has been highlighted by neurologists for its ability to help the brain stay stronger, especially if it is consumed right before going to sleep. It does not cure, but it can slow things down. And sometimes, just that is already an enormous gift. So stay, because this video can make a real difference in your life, or in the life of someone you love. Because no one wants to forget, nor be forgotten. Before we begin, tell me in the comments how many years old you are, and from where you are watching me. I want to get to know those who value their mind as much as their body, what Alzheimer's is, and why it begins silently. Sometimes, forgetting does not begin with something big. It begins with something small, a word that doesn't arrive in time, a story told twice without realizing it, a look of confusion, as if for an instant you didn't know where you are. That is not always just absent-mindedness. Alzheimer's is a neurodegenerative disease. That means it does not appear all at once, nor with pain, nor with an obvious alarm. It arrives slowly. It settles in without making noise, and when you realize it, it has already taken root. Inside the brain, something complex happens, but I'll explain it simply. Imagine that neurons are small lights connected by threads. Those threads are synapses, the channels through which memories, words, ideas travel. In a healthy brain, those connections are clean, active, fast. But in Alzheimer's, abnormal proteins begin to accumulate. One of them is called beta amyloid. This substance accumulates between neurons and forms what neurologists call senile plaques. These plaques interrupt the passage of information as if those lights began to flicker and then to go out. Over time, connections are lost. Neurons die, and what used to be clear, like the name of a child or the way home, becomes confused. The brain literally shrinks, and memory frays. But here comes something important. Not all forgetting is Alzheimer's. Aging naturally also brings changes in memory. It is normal to forget names from time to time, or to leave your keys somewhere else. That happens to anyone. The pathological begins when the forgetfulness is frequent and affects your daily life. For example, repeating the same story within the same conversation, not remembering how to get to a place you've gone to 1,000 times, asking something, and 5 minutes later, asking it again without remembering you already did. Mood changes without explanation. Difficulty finding simple words or following the thread of a conversation. And the most alarming thing is that many times, at the beginning, the affected person doesn't even notice. It is usually the children, friends, or partner who notice the first signs. Alzheimer's is slow, but constant. It is like a fine rain that soaks you without you noticing at first. That is why it is so dangerous, because when it is finally detected, it has already advanced too much. The good news is that we know more and more, and that means there are also ways to act earlier, ways to care for the brain, to protect it, to give it a chance. What science knows today about food and the brain? For years, it was thought that the brain was an isolated organ, like a control tower that did not depend on what we did with the body. Today, science has proven the exact opposite. Our brain is nourished, literally. Every brain cell, every neuron, needs nutrients to live, communicate, and defend itself from the wear of time. And what we eat, especially from 60 years onward, has a direct impact on how our brain ages. One of the most important studies in this area was developed by the Rush University Medical Center in Chicago in collaboration with Harvard. It is the MIND diet. It is a nutritional approach designed specifically to protect the brain and reduce the risk of diseases like Alzheimer's. MIND is a combination of two eating patterns, the Mediterranean diet and the DASH diet, originally created to control hypertension. By uniting them, the researchers observed something astonishing. Older adults who followed this diet consistently had a significantly lower risk of developing cognitive decline. Some studies point to a reduction of the risk of Alzheimer's of up to 30% among those who followed the diet with discipline. But the most interesting thing is that even those who followed it partially showed improvements in brain function. And what makes this diet so special? It includes foods rich in antioxidants, healthy fats, B-group vitamins, magnesium, and anti-inflammatory compounds. Berries, leafy green vegetables, legumes, fatty fish, extra virgin olive oil, and very little sugar, salt, or processed foods. But there is something many overlook: the time of day when we eat. And here comes a new line of research that is giving much to talk about. Numerous studies, including one published by the Johns Hopkins Institute for Aging, show that dinner, and especially the foods we consume right before sleeping, could play a fundamental role in the state of brain health. Why? Because while we sleep, the brain does not rest. On the contrary, it performs a sort of internal cleaning. The glymphatic system, a network of microscopic channels, activates during the deep phases of sleep and removes waste and toxins accumulated during the day, among them the beta-amyloid protein. Does that ring a bell? It is the same substance we saw earlier, the one that accumulates in brains affected by Alzheimer's. So if we sleep poorly, or if we dine incorrectly, and that interrupts deep sleep, this cleaning system cannot do its job. That is why what we eat at night does not only affect the stomach, it can also affect memory, mood, and even the speed at which our nervous system ages. It is not about eating a lot, nor about eating late. It is about eating intelligently, about giving the brain the nutrients it needs right before its most valuable moment, nightly rest. And that is where a food appears that has caught the attention of neurologists in different countries. One you might already have in your kitchen, and that you could incorporate into your routine tonight. The power of tryptophan and serotonin precursor foods. Behind a calm mind and a stable memory, there is often something much simpler than we think: good rest. And behind that good rest, many times, there is an amino acid called tryptophan. Tryptophan is a natural substance present in several foods. Our body does not produce it by itself, so we need to obtain it through the diet. But the most interesting thing is not its technical name. What is truly powerful is what it does inside us. When you consume tryptophan, this amino acid becomes, inside the brain, serotonin. And serotonin is one of the most important substances for our well-being. It regulates mood, reduces anxiety, improves sleep quality, and also participates in memory and learning. But the journey does not end there. At night, that serotonin is transformed, in turn, into melatonin. And melatonin is the hormone responsible for allowing us to sleep deeply. Not just to sleep, but to enter the most restorative phases of sleep. Those phases where the body repairs itself, and the brain as well. Now, what does this have to do with Alzheimer's? Much more than you imagine. During the deep phases of sleep, the brain activates a system that functions like a kind of internal wash, the glymphatic system. This system eliminates toxins, cleans residues, and helps prevent the accumulation of proteins like beta-amyloid, the same one we mentioned before, and that is related to Alzheimer's. That is, when we sleep well, the brain cleans itself. And to sleep well, we need enough melatonin. And to produce melatonin, we need tryptophan. This cycle seems simple, but it is profound. Caring for our diet before sleeping is much more than a digestive matter. It is a neurological prevention strategy. And this is where foods rich in tryptophan begin to stand out. Among them, ripe banana, oats, hard-boiled egg, nuts like almonds and walnuts, and some kinds of natural cheese. Consumed in the right amount and at the right time, that is, at dinner or as a nighttime snack, these foods can help the body produce more serotonin, reduce stress, facilitate deep sleep, and protect the brain in the long term. But there is more. Several scientific studies have observed that a diet rich in tryptophan not only improves sleep, but also helps reduce oxidative stress. And what is that? Oxidative stress is a process in which free radicals accumulate in the body, damaging cells. In the brain, this damage can accelerate cognitive decline, weaken memory, and increase the risk of diseases like Alzheimer's or Parkinson's. In addition, a good amount of tryptophan in the diet has also been linked to improved neuroplasticity. That is, to the brain's ability to adapt, learn new things, and recover from small injuries. This is vital in old age, when the brain needs all the help it can get to stay flexible and active. And all that begins with a food, with a well-chosen dinner, with not underestimating what happens while we sleep. The number one food, according to neurologists, golden kiwi. Among all the foods that have been studied in relation to brain health and sleep quality, there is one that has surprised the medical community because of its multiple effect. The golden kiwi, also known as yellow kiwi or zespri sungold. At first glance, it looks like a simple sweet fruit, not much different from the traditional green kiwi. But if we look at it under a magnifying glass, as neurologists and nutritionists have done in recent years, we discover that it is loaded with benefits deeply useful for the brain, especially in the stage of aging. And what makes it so special? First, its very high vitamin C content. A single golden kiwi provides more than double the daily recommended amount for an older adult. And this vitamin not only helps strengthen the immune system, it also plays a crucial role in brain functioning. It protects neurons from oxidative stress, helps synthesize neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin, and improves cerebral circulation. Second, the golden kiwi contains natural serotonin. Yes, directly. Not as a precursor, but as a substance present in its pulp. And as we already saw, serotonin is essential to relax, calm the mind, induce sleep, and prepare the brain for its nightly repair. Third, it is full of powerful antioxidants, like polyphenols and lutein. These substances help combat silent inflammation in the brain, one of the culprits of cognitive decline over the years. But the most convincing thing is not the properties themselves, but what studies have shown. At Taipei Veterans General Hospital in Taiwan, a study was carried out with older adults who suffered from insomnia or interrupted sleep. For 4 weeks, they were asked to eat 2 golden kiwis, 1 hour before going to bed. The results were surprising. On average, people fell asleep faster, slept longer, and above all, had deeper and less interrupted sleep. Moreover, in the cognitive tests performed at the end of the study, participants showed subtle but measurable improvements in memory and attention tasks. The researchers concluded that golden kiwi, consumed regularly before sleeping, could have a cumulative effect on sleep quality and on the protection of the nervous system. And this is where its most valuable role comes into play. Because when we manage to enter the deep phase of sleep, known as the N3 phase or slow-wave sleep, the brain activates very specific processes. The glymphatic system cleans toxins. Neurons reduce their activity to repair themselves. Long-term memory is consolidated. And synaptic connections are reinforced. All that does not happen when we sleep little, poorly, or with interruptions. And golden kiwi can be a natural help, without side effects, to favor that deep rest the brain so badly needs. In addition, being sweet and easy to digest, it is ideal as a light snack before sleeping. It does not cause sugar spikes, it does not inflame the stomach, and it does not interfere with nighttime digestion. In short, it is not just a fruit. It is a tool, a natural strategy to care for your brain starting today while you sleep tonight. And the best part, it is within everyone's reach. Mr. Julian is 86 years old, and although his body hurts more than before, his gaze remains serene. He has been widowed for 5 years, and since then his world has become smaller. Fewer visits, less conversation, fewer reasons to remember things. His granddaughter, Andrea, began to worry when she noticed that he repeated the same phrases during calls. Sometimes he forgot what day it was, or he asked whether he had taken his pill, even though she had just reminded him. "It is not serious. He is still fine," her mother told her. "It is normal at his age." But Andrea sensed that if they didn't do something now, later, it would be too late. That was when she read an article about golden kiwi and its impact on sleep and memory. They were not promising miracles, but they were talking about something important: slowing down. So, without telling him anything else, she began to bring him 2 golden kiwis every night. She peeled them and gave them to him cut up, as if it were a dessert. At first he only smiled and said, "How tasty, dear." I had never tried this kind of kiwi, and so, night after night, it became a small ritual, a moment of care and connection between the two of them. 10 minutes of soft conversation, and then to bed. The first signs arrived in the 3rd week. Andrea noticed that her grandfather took less time to fall asleep. He no longer got up so many times to go to the bathroom. And in the mornings, she found him clearer, more awake, more himself. Once, Mr. Julian even remembered a detail from a story she had told him the previous week, something that, before, would simply have slipped away. "I feel as if the day starts more orderly," he confessed one morning, drinking his coffee, "as if I no longer had fog in my head." Andrea did not get carried away with excessive hopes. She knew they were not curing anything, but she also knew that something had changed. It wasn't just the kiwis, it was the gesture, it was the ritual, it was the silent commitment not to let Mr. Julian's mind go dark without putting up a fight. Over time, the whole family began to notice the same thing. Mr. Julian kept forgetting small things, but he no longer got lost in his own story. He no longer had those long silences where he searched for words and couldn't find them. And above all, he did not wake up so tired. "It was not a cure," Andrea said softly, "but it was a break. And in a disease that only knows how to move forward, a break is, many times, the difference between living with dignity or getting lost too soon." That is Mr. Julian's story, a simple story like that of many others, but also a story that can inspire. Because you don't need to be a doctor, nor have a lot of money, nor make drastic changes. You only need to want to care. And sometimes, that care begins with something as small as a fruit shared each night. 3 other foods that help slow cognitive decline. Golden kiwi is not alone in this silent fight against forgetting. There are other foods, just as natural, that science has linked with the protection of memory and brain function in older people. And the best part is that they can be easily integrated into your nighttime routine as part of a light dinner or a snack before sleeping. Today, I will talk to you about 3 of them, chosen for their proven properties and their ability to work together with nightly rest. 1. Berries, small warriors full of anthocyanins. Forest fruits, blueberries, blackberries, raspberries, dark cherries, are much more than natural sweets. They are one of the greatest sources of anthocyanins, a type of antioxidant that has been shown to have neuroprotective effects. Anthocyanins help reduce inflammation in the brain, improve communication between neurons, and slow short-term memory loss, especially in older adults. In a study from the University of Cincinnati, it was found that older adults who consumed blueberries daily for 12 weeks showed improvements in cognitive performance and greater brain efficiency in functional MRI images. Ideally, consume them fresh or frozen, never in processed juices. A small bowl of berries 1 hour before sleeping can help prepare the body for rest without overloading the stomach. In addition, their natural sweetness can help you avoid cravings for refined sugar at night. 2. Walnuts, pure fuel for the brain. Walnuts are a very rich source of omega-3 fatty acids, especially alpha-linolenic acid, ALA. These fatty acids are essential for the formation and repair of neuronal membranes and also act as natural anti-inflammatories within the nervous system. But there is something more. Walnuts contain melatonin in small amounts, which helps induce sleep. They also have magnesium and vitamin E, 2 key micronutrients to protect the brain from accelerated aging. A review of studies published in the Journal of Nutrition showed that older people who regularly included walnuts in their diet had better memory, greater verbal fluency, and slower cognitive aging. The recommendation: between 3 and 5 walnuts before sleeping. You can have them alongside a kiwi or mix them with plain yogurt low in sugar. They are satiating, they do not interfere with sleep, and they feed your nervous system directly. 3. Turmeric with black pepper, liquid gold for the mind. Turmeric is a root of intense yellow color used for centuries for its medicinal properties. What gives it its power is curcumin, an active compound that combats brain inflammation, oxidative stress, and the accumulation of beta-amyloid plaque. In other words, turmeric helps fight 3 of the main causes of cognitive decline. A study published by the University of California found that older adults who took curcumin regularly showed less accumulation of harmful proteins in the brain and better results in memory tests. But there is an important detail. Curcumin is only properly activated if it is consumed along with black pepper. Piperine, present in pepper, multiplies the absorption of curcumin in the body by up to 2,000 times. How can you take it before sleeping? A very effective option is a hot infusion, 1 cup of plant milk, such as almond or oat milk, half a teaspoon of turmeric, a pinch of black pepper. Optional: cinnamon or natural honey. This remedy is known as golden milk, and besides helping you sleep better, can be a comforting way to close the day with care and awareness. These 3 foods, berries, walnuts, and activated turmeric, are not magical, but they are powerful allies. Consumed consistently as part of a simple and natural nightly routine, they can help you strengthen your mind, protect your memory, and prepare your brain for a new day. Common dinner mistakes that accelerate brain aging. You can have the best foods at home. You can eat golden kiwi, walnuts, berries. But if you accompany those gestures with bad habits at dinner, the benefits are diluted, or worse, reversed. Today I want to talk to you about those silent mistakes that, night after night, wear down the brain without us noticing. Mistakes so common that almost all of us make them at some point, thinking nothing happens. But something does happen. And if you are over 60 years old, your nighttime decisions can make the difference between keeping your memory or beginning to lose it. First mistake: dining very late or too heavy. This is one of the most common mistakes. Many people, out of habit or schedules, end up having dinner at 10 or even 11 at night. And they not only dine late, but make that meal the biggest of the day. The problem? That the body, at those hours, is no longer prepared to digest so much. When you dine very late or very heavily, your body devotes a lot of energy to processing food. This interferes directly with the deep sleep phase, which is when the brain cleans itself, repairs itself, and consolidates memories. It is like trying to clean a house while cooking a 3-course dinner at the same time. The body cannot do everything. In addition, heavy digestion causes micro-awakenings, daytime sleepiness, and fragmented sleep. And a brain that does not rest is a brain that ages faster. Second mistake: overdoing sugar, salt, and processed foods. Dinners with cold cuts, ultra-processed products, white bread, canned sauces, or industrial desserts not only make digestion difficult, they also inflame the brain. Refined sugar in excess directly affects neurons. It generates glucose spikes that alter brain chemistry and weakens memory over time. Salt, in high doses, raises blood pressure, and hypertension slowly damages the brain's blood vessels, reducing the flow of oxygen and nutrients. And ultra-processed foods contain trans fats, additives, and preservatives that, according to several studies, increase the risk of cognitive decline in older adults. Therefore, it is best to opt for a light, natural dinner, rich in vegetables, gentle proteins, and healthy fats. Just enough for the body to relax and the brain to repair itself. Third mistake: not having a set sleep schedule. Sleeping at any hour, depending on how the day goes, may seem normal. But for the brain, that lack of rhythm is a silent threat. Our internal clock, called the circadian cycle, regulates hormones, body temperature, attention, and also the efficiency of sleep. If each night we go to sleep at a different time, that system loses balance. And when that happens, melatonin production decreases, deep sleep shortens, and the glymphatic system cannot clean the brain effectively. The result? Greater fatigue upon waking, more forgetfulness, less concentration, and a shorter path toward decline. Ideally, go to sleep at the same time always, even on weekends, and have a pre-sleep routine. Dine early, avoid bright screens, listen to soft music, or read something calm. Fourth mistake, ignoring the rebound effect of insomnia. Chronic insomnia not only steals hours of rest from you, it can also provoke a rebound effect on memory that accumulates over time. Studies carried out by the University of California have shown that older adults with frequent insomnia have greater accumulation of beta amyloid in the brain, the same toxic protein related to Alzheimer's. That is, sleeping poorly not only makes you feel bad the next day, it also accelerates brain aging in the long term. And the worst part is that many people try to compensate with coffee, sweets, or long naps, which perpetuates the vicious circle. It is not about living in fear. It is about becoming aware. If we avoid these simple mistakes, dining late, overdoing sugar, improvising sleep, we are already protecting one of our most valuable tools, the mind. Because sleeping is not a waste of time, sleeping well and with an appropriate dinner can be one of the most effective ways to care for what we are, what we remember, and what we still want to live. Direct relationship between deep sleep and solid memory. Sleeping is not just physical rest. It is one of the most powerful and sophisticated processes the human body performs, especially the brain. For a long time, it was thought that when sleeping, the brain simply shut down. But today we know the opposite happens. When the body sleeps, the brain turns on at another level. And what exactly does it do while we sleep? It processes emotions. It organizes memories. It repairs damaged connections. And, most important for this topic, it cleans itself. Yes, you heard that right. There is an internal system in our brain whose only function is to clean toxins and residues that accumulate during the day. It is called the glymphatic system. And here comes the key fact. This system only works while we sleep deeply. How does this glymphatic system work? During deep sleep, especially in the N3 and REM phases, brain cells shrink slightly. That creates space between them so that a special fluid, called cerebrospinal fluid, can circulate freely. This fluid acts like a kind of internal river, dragging and eliminating waste accumulated between neurons. One of those wastes is the beta amyloid protein, the same one we have mentioned several times. When it is not properly eliminated, this protein tends to clump together and form plaques. Plaques that interfere with communication between neurons and that over time trigger diseases like Alzheimer's. As clear as that. Sleeping poorly does not only leave you tired, it leaves residues in your brain that accelerate its aging. Recent studies confirm this connection. A study conducted at the University of Rochester showed that people who habitually slept fewer than 6 hours per night had greater accumulation of beta amyloid in the brain, visible on imaging. Another study, this time published in the journal Brain, found that chronic sleep disruption is related to a progressive decrease in long-term memory, especially in older adults. And it is not just about sleeping many hours. It is about sleeping well, sleeping in the correct phases, sleeping deeply. Light sleep, full of awakenings, does not activate the glymphatic system. And if the body cannot clean the brain, toxins remain and begin to do their slow damage, day after day. So what can we do? Dine early and light. Avoid screens 1 hour before sleeping. Create a rest routine. Include foods like golden kiwi, walnuts, turmeric. Avoid caffeine and sugar at night. Sleep in a dark and cool environment. And above all, give sleep the value it deserves. It is not a luxury. It is not a waste of time. Sleeping well is an investment in your memory, your lucidity, and your identity. Because when you rest deeply, the brain not only repairs itself, it defends itself, it strengthens itself, it renews itself, and that, in mature age, can be the difference between living with fullness or living in confusion. How to create a nighttime routine that protects your mind? We have talked about science, foods, and real stories, but nothing helps if it does not become daily action. Today, I want to help you build a simple, realistic, and powerful routine to care for your brain, improve your rest, and slow mental aging. You do not need expensive products, nor more than 30 minutes, only intention and consistency. Step 1. Light dinner with protective food. Your dinner should end 2 or 3 hours before going to bed. It should be light, natural, and rich in foods that favor rest and cognitive health. Ideal combinations: 1 golden kiwi plus plain yogurt low in sugar plus 3 walnuts, whole grain toast with avocado and hard-boiled egg, warm infusion of turmeric with black pepper plus handful of berries, pumpkin soup plus chamomile tea plus ripe banana. Avoid heavy foods, fried foods, red meats, sugars, and ultra-processed products. What you put on your plate can help clean your mind while you sleep. Step 2. Turn off screens 1 hour before sleeping. The blue light from cell phones, televisions, and computers inhibits melatonin, confusing the body into thinking it is daytime. This delays sleep, reduces its depth, and alters rest. Turn off all screens at least 1 hour before going to bed. Use that time to talk, read, listen to soft music, do deep breathing, or be in silence. Step 3. Write a gratitude journal. Based on research in positive psychology and emotional neuroscience, write each night 3 things you feel grateful for. Today, the coffee tasted delicious to me. My grandson called me. I felt calm while walking. This focuses the brain on the positive, decreases cortisol, and activates well-being circuits. It also strengthens emotional memory. You only need a notebook and 5 minutes. Step 4. Optimal conditions for sleeping. Make sure your room has total darkness, thick curtains or a sleep mask, silence or soft sounds, avoid abrupt noises, cool temperature, between 18 and 20 degrees, comfortable, light clothing. That does not constrict. Alzheimer's is the result of years of small invisible neglects, but it can be slowed with years of small conscious acts. You can start tonight. Which other daily habits reinforce the effect? The protective food does not work alone. Your brain is like a tree. It needs light, movement, oxygen, and connection during the day. 1. Walk at least 30 minutes a day. Walking activates blood circulation, which means more oxygen and nutrients to the brain. It reduces inflammation and tension and increases serotonin. It also improves mood and reduces the risk of depression. Each step is a small boost of life for your neurons. 2. Hydrate the brain with enough water. The brain is composed mostly of water. When it dehydrates, it becomes slower, irritable, and fragile. Drink between 6 and 8 glasses daily. 1 glass upon waking, another mid-morning, 1 with each meal, 1 before sleeping. 3. Stimulate the brain with reading, learning, or conversation. The brain is like a muscle. If it is not used, it atrophies. People who read, learn, or remain socially active retain more memory and mental agility. Reading 15 minutes daily, playing memory games, solving crosswords, or learning something new keeps neurons active. Deep conversations also nourish your brain. 4. Breathe deeply before sleeping. Breathing influences sleep quality and the state of the nervous system. Simple technique. Sit with your back straight. Inhale through the nose for 4 seconds. Hold the air for 4 seconds. Exhale through the mouth for 6 seconds. Repeat for 5 to 10 minutes. This reduces cortisol and favors melatonin. Warnings and limits. It is not miraculous, but it is powerful. Golden kiwi is not a miracle cure. It cannot by itself reverse cognitive decline or stop Alzheimer's. It does not replace medications nor medical diagnoses. If you have received a diagnosis or are in neurological evaluation, follow medical instructions. Drugs and therapies play an important role. If there are persistent forgetfulness, frequent confusion, or unexplained mood changes, do not wait. Consult a specialist. It is part of a preventive lifestyle. The benefits are observed when integrated into a healthy lifestyle. Dine early and light. Sleep well. Do moderate exercise. Stimulate the mind. Maintain emotional bonds. Avoid toxins like excess sugar, alcohol, or tobacco. Improvements require consistency and time. Do not expect immediate results. Effects appear after weeks or months of consistent consumption. Many times they are perceived as a softening of decline, an invisible break that you notice over time. Consult a professional if there is a diagnosis or doubts. If you take medications or have digestive, kidney, liver, or immune problems, consult your doctor. Not all bodies react the same. Is it worth it? Yes. These are small actions with scientific backing that can improve your well-being, strengthen your mind, and give you more years with lucidity. Today you discovered that what you eat before sleeping can make the difference between remembering and forgetting. We talked about foods, but above all about choices. Choosing to dine better, to sleep more deeply, to protect your memory like a treasure. Try this habit for 7 nights. The golden kiwi, the walnuts, a golden infusion. Do it with care, consistency, and faith. Observe how you sleep, wake, and think. Thank you for taking care of yourself. You are still on time.